Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Nelson.
I'm the other host.
You are the other host, Derek Foster.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
What's up, man? What we do each episode is we sit down with business owners in the trades, blue collar men and women that have been doing it for a while, in hopes that they can pass on some of the brilliance that they are to wherever you are in your journey, your path down the road. We also sit down sometimes with people that support the industries, whether that's through consulting or, organizations like SEAT or BOCES or HVCC, that are helping to train and educate the next generation of blue collar and trades people. And then sometimes who else do we meet with? Do we chat with anybody else? I feel like that's all of it, right? Workforce development.
All different industries, yeah. We want to inspire the next generation.
Thanks for that, Derek.
Yeah.
You should do the intro.
A good
time.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
So this week we're joined by Chris Manzela.
Correct.
Wow, I did it. I did it, everyone.
Now you got to say the company name right.
BradManz.
Inside joke.
Landscaping, yes.
I think
Keep hitting buttons.
All right. No, I didn't press them all. We got this one.
Oh, that's cool.
Did you know that was in there?
No.
That is awesome.
All right. That kind of gets you vibing a little bit.
Don't play it too long. It probably costs you too much money.
It cuts you off. We got that guy. Thunderous applause.
Where's this been?
I know.
You don't even know what you're paying for.
For my jokes,
Nice.
right? So
You got to start using some of that.
I know. I'm a newly discovered this function. We've only been doing this for 2 years. So we're here with Chris
Back to
Manzela.
the show.
Yes, back to the show.
to the
Sorry,
show.
everyone. Just trying to get some stuff sorted there. So Chris, tell us about BradManz. What you do, who you are.
BradManz Landscaping is a full-service landscape company on the install side of basically the construction side of landscaping. We don't do a lot of maintenance. For example, we don't do a lot of lawn care or fall cleanup. We don't do plowing. We do installation from the hardscape, which is all your paver wall or pavers, patio walls, features, outdoor kitchens, basically anything on the outside of your house that you want, we can accomplish for you. And then, of course, the plantings as well. So we're a full design install company.
Okay. So, and when you say design install, so like landscape architect type stuff, is that in the realm or is that?
So we work with design firms, but we design a lot of our own stuff with the client's input, of course. A lot of what we do mostly residential work. However, we do touch on occasional commercial projects when the opportunity presents itself. But predominantly, we are a company that works in the residential field.
Okay.
So from a design standpoint, we my partner, Josh, who's not with us today, but he handles a lot of the design aspects of it with input from both of us and the client. And basically, we take a very consultative approach to our projects. We work very closely with our clients to give them what they want. Help educate them on opportunities that they could do at their property. Try to find out what it is that they're doing with the property. Like, what is it? Is it just a patio, or do you have a long-term goal of having a patio with an outdoor kitchen, with a pool, with a gazebo, whatever the features that they may want to expand to? We want to make sure that we set them up for that success later. Hoping that we can keep a customer for life, not just a one-time opportunity. So we do take a different approach where we don't just get a call for, hey, I want a patio. Can you give me an estimate?
Right.
We want to have a plan. So
really get in there, just do some discovery. Yeah, get to know them.
Absolutely. How did you get started, Chris?
Interestingly enough, I went to school locally. Graduated from Bethlehem, and when I graduated, I was in the restaurant as a part-time kid. I was working in a restaurant as a cook and did different things. And I knew I was going to be going to Hudson Valley because at that point I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to pursue a degree. I just didn't know in what area. And today I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
Same.
Me too.
But for now right now I'm having fun. So when I graduated high school. I was working in restaurants. I had a friend of mine who was going to a school down south in Florida, and he was doing a lot of lawns on the side. When I say a lot, he had like 20 plus accounts, and he was just doing it as a kid, really hardworking hustler of a kid. And he realized, oh shoot, school starts in August. Lawns continue to grow through, October, and then certainly there's fall cleanups. So he came to me and said, hey, I know you're going to school locally. Would you mind to take a few of these counts? And he said, take as many as you want. So I wasn't set up for it, but I thought about it and I said, well, there's good money in there. And you have to remember, when I was that old, now I'm aging myself, but I think I was at that point making $4.25 an hour. It wasn't hard to figure out that if I could mow a couple lawns in an hour, because they're neighboring lawns, and I get paid $15 per lawn, I just made $30. Do that multiple times. I started making money, and I was like, wow, I'm making more money in one day mowing lawns than I went 3 or 4 days working at a restaurant. So,
I remember the days of the $5 an hour labor. I was also in the restaurant business at that point, and
I don't.
It's amazing how far we've come. You don't remember? Yeah, you're too young for that. Son of a bitch.
Right, the 15.
My starting wage when I started at Tollgate Restaurant, shout out to Tollgate, was $3.35 an hour. $3.35 an hour. I was 14, and I remember finishing school that year, and within a couple weeks, the boss had me working just about 40 hours a week, and the first paycheck I got, I just broke $100 after taxes, and I was like, that's it? Right. So anyways, fast forward a few years later, I was doing lawns, and my buddy was going to school down there. He came home for winter break. We got talking. I said, hey, listen, just like the end of the season, the start of the season starts before you get back from school. I said, do you want to partner up? He said, that sounds great. Let's talk about it, in a few months when we get closer, and we'll figure it out. Because I figured at that point, I'm going to be going to school locally, and he's down south. He could come up, we could grow the business. Then I could take it over and run it while he's gone, and figure out all the business side of it together.
Yeah.
A month or two later, before that happened, he calls me and said, I'm not coming back. I'm going to stay in Florida. And here's my literally a book of business. He gave me a book of all of his customers, and I just went through each one of them. Again, this is before cell phones.
Yep.
Before all that technology and email, any of that. We had. I just sat down as a 19-year-old and started making phone calls. And that same summer, I captured probably 50% of those customers, because I was only doing a few of those at the time. So I captured a few more of them, and they would all. Each one would ask me something slightly different, like, hey, do you clean gutters? Can you mulch? Can you do this? Can you do that? And every one I would just say, sure. I'll give it a go. I can try. And then it came to hardscaping. It was like, can you redo my walkway? I'll give it a go. Can you redo my lawn? Sure. So over time, I started taking on projects that I hadn't done, but I figured I could figure it out. And I would pull on resources to figure it out, whether it was other contractors or people that were friendly and willing to help a young guy out. And eventually, I finished my degree. I had probably 2 associate's degrees from Hudson Valley, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. And my buddy Brendan, who you guys interviewed with AGC, said to me, hey, you're kind of doing it already. You're doing landscape. Why don't you go to school for that? So I'm like, so a light bulb goes off. I said, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. And I looked into several programs, one being landscape architecture. And I did some research by calling around to local landscape architect firms. And there are certainly firms that work in the residential side and do great designs for residents. But the commercial side of it was more, at least the information that I gathered at the time, they were more of like a liaison between like engineers for the construction project and architects. So the landscape architect would be more of a land planner, would say, this is where the building should go, this is where the parking lot should be. The engineers would figure out drainage and all that stuff, and then obviously the architects of the building would do the architecture. So that didn't appeal to me because I was working in the build side of things. I did some more research and found out that SUNY Cobleskill has a really good program in plant science, and they have a major in landscape design and construction. which was great because they have a lot of hands-on opportunities and a semester-long mandatory internship in your field. So that's what I did.
Did you intern for yourself at that point since you had
No, they wouldn't. And quite honestly, they put you with large, at that time, $100 million companies. Now they're, the massive companies that are out there that are gobbling all these. But Rupert, Brickman Group. Yeah.
I'm familiar with Brickman. We used to sell against them all the time. Yeah, when I was at North Country. We sell against, and then we kind of worked with them too. We were a sub for Brickman on the snow side, on the lawn, some of the lawn stuff, and then we would also sell again. It was the weirdest relationship, man, where you're like, you'd walk into a bid meeting and there's Brickman, and you're there, and you're like, all right, so I guess we're gonna bid against you, and if you win it, we're still gonna perform the work. It was one of those deals. It was so weird, man.
Yeah, because they're more of a management firm.
Yep.
And that's how they got to be so big, because they could basically take the pain away from a contractor, or rather the maintenance person on that property, and say, hey, I just need one person I can call.
Yep.
And make all my pain go away, from the plowing to the gardening to the mulching to
all
the
the
weeds
stuff,
to the planting of flowers to whatever maintenance was desired. So, I graduated there with my bachelor's in plant science and landscape design and construction. And at that time, I was actually still running my landscape business, but mostly doing lawn care. Yeah. Mostly doing the maintenance side of things, which on the onset of this show, we talked about me not doing that. Well, there was a reason. I was, I think when you own your own business, you tend to be more controlling, right? So the outcome of the project, whatever it is, whether it's mowing somebody's lawn, doing a cleanup, mulching, whatever it is, you have to be on site and you have to perform the work with your guys. And I had no problem doing the work, but I felt that I was not driving my business. I would, anytime I would be on a job, I wasn't selling the job. So if I'm working it or mowing a lawn, which I found myself running the lawn crew and being on one, I wasn't building the business. So I knew that in order, and the monotony of mowing lawns and doing all that, which I give a lot of people a lot of credit and respect to people that still run the maintenance side of thing and figured it out. But for me, I wanted to expand on my build side. So I knew that the only way I could get out of doing what I was doing, because it was almost like an addiction. I had the work, I had the monthly, weekly payroll coming in and all that stuff coming in, and I was making good money. I just was bored. So I had to sell that off. So fast forward, so that was early, maybe end of the 90s, 99, 98, 2000, somewhere in there. I decided to sell off that business, and I got into sales. So there was a period of time where I was just selling control products, agricultural and fertilizers and grass seed, working for various companies along the way. Meanwhile, always loved landscape installation and all that. So my partner Josh, who I spoke of earlier, I had mentioned to him at any point, if you ever want to, do a business together, I'm open to the idea, and because he brings the build side, the knowledge from that side, and prefers not to handle the business side, and I love the business side. So it was a very easy match for us. And so I'm trying to call the date. I want to say, I don't even remember. I think we're close to 10 years in business together, give or take. Actually, I think it was 2015 we filed for our corporation for BradManz. So in 2015, Josh and I became partners, and we started with the two of us. I financed a dump truck, one track steer, the trailer, everything we needed to get started. Yeah. And we had a small trailer with a bunch of tools, and have built out our business since. So that's the short version of my story.
What? Go ahead, D.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So it's amazing. You were working, had a job at 14.
Yep.
Clearly, the work ethic, has always been there for you. What was a big part of that? Why did you feel it necessary to maintain a job and get started somewhere?
So the truth is, I grew up in a household where my parents were as generous as they could afford to be. And to this day, they have one of the most generous hearts. My mom and dad are still with us, and they're great people. And they had 4 kids. My father worked for the state. He had a great job, but there was a limit to that. They brought us up in a great school district. But we didn't have a lot of the extras. If I wanted to go to a movie, sure, on occasion they'd be able to help me with that. But go skiing, or I would have to make my own money to do the extra things that I wanted to do. And I also knew that I had my own wants. I wanted to be able to do things. So I must have come from them, the work ethic. I think I saw both my parents work really hard to provide for their family, and I saw that, and I realized, well, it's not fair for me to just ask them for money every time I need it. And I'm certainly an independent person, so I like that independence part. And I was the youngest of 4. So my older brother worked at the restaurant, and one day called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we need a dishwasher. You want to start?" And I said, "Yep." And I had working papers at the time. I had done various jobs. I worked as an ice guard at a local town park, and just little odds and end jobs. I mowed my neighbor's lawn, mowed my grandmother's lawn, and would always get a little bit of cash here and there for that. But having a steady job was always something that interested me. And did I answer the question? I'm sorry.
No. And the reason I ask you, what are your thoughts on work ethic today? I mean, there's a lot. We've had several of our guests on that, and somebody who's had that, growing up.
Yeah. No, that's my outlook. Well, I can say from a business owner, it's frustrating, Derek. I think there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're owed, and we hear this all the time. I think that we're also coming from a generation of, and I don't blame necessarily the youth or the younger people. I think everything's so much faster paced, and I think there's so many different ways that people make money. Whether it's podcasting, super easy.
Millions of dollars in podcasting.
I mean,
where is it?
I can't wait to cash this $100,000 check you guys gave me.
Yeah, to come on the show. I know. We make it rain, baby.
Yeah. Because I passed up Joe Rogan to go with you guys because you outbid him.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
listen.
Suck it, Joe.
Yeah, suck it, Joe. I think the work ethic, I think that by and large, when you find somebody that's a good employee, it's like a unicorn right now.
Yeah.
They're out there. I think that there are a lot of people out there, and I think it's going to come, in my opinion, full circle, where people will start realizing, listen, we all know that COVID didn't help that, right? There's a gap there. There's there's a lot of money rolling, whether it's companies getting money or individuals getting money for staying at home. And that is what it is. I don't blame any one person or any one thing, but that didn't help, right? So in my opinion, based on my experience with people and employees and their habits, we all want things, but I think from my personal, going back to, what drove you, the truth is, I don't know if whatever it is that I'm motivated to get, it could be a car, a house, a boat, whatever. I think the idea of being able to get it is more exciting to me than actually having it. Does that make any sense? So I think the ability for me to afford that fancy car makes me feel better than actually having that car. Because I'll get bored with it. I know me. I will be like, I got it, did that, played, So the thing that I'm most proud of is raising my family, helping my kids with their college. Our goal is to help my kids get through with work ethic. I can tell you that I think that my kids have similar work ethic that my wife and I instilled on them, because my wife was the same exact way. She worked hard. She started very young. Working, in fact, that's where we met, was at that restaurant. But we would both work during summers. We'd have 3 jobs. I'd worked at Tollgate, at Manja's, and I do lawns on the side. So I think I always had that. I think some of it's inherent in you. I think you're born with it. I also think that if you're in the right family and you have the right structure, that helps. but I do think that there's still a lot of, I think there are doers and there are takers, and you know, it is what it is. I like being where I'm at. I like being motivated every day to get up and make it better for my family, better for my employees, trying to grow something that I'm proud of that maybe I can pass on. That's actually excites me more than anything, because I'm not stopping at my landscape business. I have other things that for future podcasts, so that's why I'm getting paid this much, guys. There's more to come.
Yeah, there's a whole series of shows.
Series.
Just starts with BradManz.
Yeah. Go Bills.
By the way, we're sitting in the Bills sanctuary here.
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably pay a little homage to where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I'll take a picture. We'll do a selfie of the room in the background, and I'll put it on social media in like 6 months.
Yeah.
After the Bills win the Super Bowl, obviously.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So, just to kind of put things into perspective for listeners, right? So you, and I love the story that we get to tell so often. I feel like, especially with blue collar and in the trades, right? Is it starts with a young guy and a mower, or a young guy and a hammer, I love hearing that story, because it becomes so accessible to anyone that wants to do it. To kind of put it into perspective now, so you left the industry, you came back in, and then you and your now current business partner started in 2015. It was just the two of you at that time.
Correct.
How many employees do you have now?
So in the season, we have up to 10 for that company. And right now we have, including my partner and I have, 7, probably more like 12 in season, and we have about 8 right now. Yeah.
And so you, again, in 8 years, right? So it's like 8 years, you grow this business, you're obviously doing well. When you guys see the image, you'll understand, you're doing okay for yourself, sure. Right? And now you've branched off into other things. I just really want to keep drawing that parallel for people about, work ethic, hard work.
And it all starts somewhere. It starts simple. That's why I asked you about the first job. I remember mine working at Hoffman Car Wash, and then, but you learn how to get up, go to work, the basic stuff, and you get paid for it.
I think that a big part of, if there's younger people listening to this podcast and trying to get something out of it for themselves, it's not just showing up and doing the work, but it's showing up, doing the work, and caring about what you're doing, no matter what the job, right? So if you're doing dishes for a restaurant, do the best job you can. Be the most efficient dishwasher there. Do the extra things. People notice. You might not believe that, but people notice. The boss notices, the manager notices if that person is doing above and beyond the average job of dishwasher, which is an extremely important job in any restaurant. I did it for a long time when I was younger, and it probably taught me a lot more than I realized. But I can tell you that it brought me to the next stage, which was, okay, we're going to teach this kid how to cook because he was good at this. And the dishwasher, we can... that was like a trainee type of job, where now all of a sudden he's going to learn the other part of the kitchen. And it just kept snowballing from there. By the time I was done working at Tollgate, I had worked the front count. I'd worked every part of that business, from doing each position, certainly not managing or running the restaurant, but every position in the restaurant. I was able to pitch in anytime they needed help up front, or the waitstaff needed help, or, bussing table, whatever it was, I was capable of being helpful to the owner. So, and why is that important? Well, the owner would always give me an opportunity to get an extra shift. He'd ask me first, or I'd be one of the first people he'd ask. He'd say, "Are you available tomorrow?" Reliable, get it done. And I think that's important as you get on an age where you want to impress your employer or move up. It's a slow and steady pace in any industry. There is no get-rich scheme out there. And that's something that I believe in. I think that if you work hard and you just grind it out and you do it with diligence and care, and you care whether it's your own business or you're working for somebody else, you have to care, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, take pride in what you do.
Yep.
That's important.
And what the hell else are you going to do? I like, that's always my, when we've talked before, I always when people when I talk about work or all the different things that I'm doing or you're doing, or, you know, or you talk to someone like yourself that's obviously doing a ton of shit, right? Yeah. And people are like, wow, it just sounds like so much work. And it's like, well, what else are you going to do with your time, man?
Absolutely.
You got to occupy your time doing something.
Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. People always say like, oh, well, what are you going to do when you retire? I'm like, probably work.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, at some point, I could say, okay, I'm done. I'm going to sell everything and just sell off. But then what? To your point, like, what
are you going to do?
What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. I'd like to help future generations. I'd like to do more volunteerism. And I mean that. I'd like to, you know, and I'd like to do it with my own companies. I'd like to, you know, with the landscape construction and our abilities, I would love to, you know, fix up a small park in the area and have the autonomy to go in there and get the permission from the city to say, yeah, it's yours, do what you want. And that'd be okay. And then I'd go in there and find the donations for the material and put my guys there and bring areas that just need that type of attention, because, you know, this is the state I grew up in, this is the town I grew up in, this is the city I grew up in. I want to give back where I can.
You know, it's interesting. I just, on our other podcast, Buying Local, I just interviewed this guy by the name of Scott Lufkin. Goes by the moniker of Town Tinker on YouTube and social media. If you want to check out Scott, good dude. But he was actually, so very similar in that, you know, he's from the town of Argyle.
Okay.
And, but he's very involved in the community, loves his town, grew up there, wants to, you know, keep it nice, make it nice, do whatever he can to keep improving it. And so, to kind of like with what you're talking about, so they had this field that's just kind of sitting there in Argyle, and he was like, I think we should put a skating rink there. So I don't think they got permission. I think they just did it. And so I
love it.
So they built this skating rink, and I just saw a picture of it today because it's finally cold enough for them to make ice. And so, but basically what happened was a bunch of people from that lived there donated some money for materials. They all got together and did a work crew, built a skating rink, and isn't that awesome?
It is awesome. And that type of, that grows, right? They feel good. Listen, when you do, you know, that's the other thing as an entrepreneur, and I can imagine the guys I'm sitting in front of, volunteerism in general, whether you're on a board for an organization or you're actually, you know, donating to a cause or you're volunteering for said cause or all of the above. It's super important to get involved in your community in all those aspects. You can't just sit by and have other people do all that work. It's important to get involved. You got to do it for the right reasons. You know, the right reasons are because in my case, I was on the board of the Ronald McDonald House for 6 years, and I loved every bit of it. Learned a ton, which was great because I love to learn and be on a board like that, which is has a lot of engaging board members. I learned from them. They learned from me, and I met a lot of great people. And I got to work for a great organization that does great things for families with sick children. A little plug for Ronald McDonald House of Capital.
Great people over there.
Yeah. So I think that only helps give you guidance, right? You kind of go through life, and sometimes if you haven't been met with any kind of difficulties or challenges, I think that you don't grow. I think if you hit things straight on, listen, if you're a business owner, and Derek can speak on that, Mike can probably speak on that. If you're a business owner, you're going to hit challenges. You're going to hit situations where you might take a big loss on something. How do you hold your head up after getting, you know, whether a customer didn't pay you for a job you did, or you just underbid it, whatever the situation is, you can, two things: finish the job, what you told the customers you're going to do, no matter what. Make sure you do it and do it well. I can honestly tell you that I get by with karma is a real thing. I just firmly believe that. I think that, you know, if you're good, things continue to come back to you full circle. And so that's how I live it. I don't wish anything bad to happen to somebody else or some other entity. But for me, I know if I do right, I can put my head on every night on my pillow and fall asleep and knowing that I didn't hurt anybody or, misguide anybody or take something that wasn't mine. I bring that up because I think that it's important for people to realize that you're going to have situations where you're going to feel like this is impossible. I can't get through this. Yes, you can. You persevere, you push through, you make the hard decisions, you sacrifice, and you grind it out, because in the end, you're going to learn from that, and that's where the tuition comes in. That's what you chalk it up as, tuition, right? You just got your master's, you just got your doctorate. It's tuition. So every bump in the road is an opportunity to learn. I'm not going to make that mistake again, or I'm going to tighten up my contracts, or whatever it is that's going to make you a better business person, only makes you a better person. Don't give up, I would say. If it's something you really love and enjoy, just do it,
Yeah. I definitely got to recognize it's not all puppies and kittens and rainbows, right?
It's absolutely not.
So for somebody out there, Chris, that's either in the trades now or maybe coming out of the blue collar college, which
HVCC,
Hudson Valley.
That's right.
HVCC, right? Shout out.
Yeah, we've you've started obviously a number of businesses. So I guess what is your best piece of advice for somebody who's thinking about moving or either going on their own or starting something? I know you were able to buy a book of business that was there. You took that opportunity. What's your advice for somebody in that position?
So I think the best thing you can do is find somebody in the business you're in as a mentor. By the way, they're out there. I know some people think, well, that person might be my competitor. Who cares? They shouldn't care either. Like if a young guy was looking to get into landscape construction, I would absolutely want to mentor them and try to help them and give them at least the beginning parts of what you need to know. And I would not try to scare someone out of it. I would just say, just do your due diligence and be smart about it. Mm-hmm. A lot of business owners it's more in the construction side, and I'm not picking on landscapers or any type of contractors, but contractors tend to fail when they take on too much work where they're not keeping track of their finances. So understanding your finances, understanding what real costs are, and having a good business mind. And that doesn't mean you have to have a degree in business, but by the time you run a business for 5+ years, you will, by virtue of doing that, have a business degree. And having someone or multiple people help you, it's okay to ask for help, and they're out there. I mentor people all the time. People ask me, how did you start your business? Or how would I go about doing this, or whatever it is that we're talking about, and wherever I can help individuals, I'm more than happy to. So finding a good mentor, and they're out there. There's definitely places to go, and I think finding a successful business owner, and what I mean by somebody who's been around for a while, not somebody who just started a year or two ago. Not to say that they're not successful, but you really kind of need to go through the ups and downs of economy, of trying it, failing at something and starting again. And usually with somebody that has experience, they're going to help you maybe skip over some of the failures that they may have had. Mm-hmm. I also think that this life is too short, and we are in a business. Again, it doesn't matter what business you're talking about. Your competitors are always out there. And some of my really closest friends are competitors of mine. We're not competitors. There's so much work out there. If they have a job, I'm not going to go take it from them. Right. So
I'm in the same boat. Yeah. One of my great friends owns a competing marketing company.
Yeah.
He actually sends us referrals all the time. Yeah. We do whenever we can. We do work for him someday. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's because, to your point, there's so much work out there.
And I've had fellow contractor friends help me out on a job that I'm over my head or need help or just bailing out. Vice versa. We've certainly come in to help other contractors just get through it so they can get done and paid. Lick their wounds and move on, because that's the worst thing. If you're buried on a project and you feel overwhelmed, you feel like, there's no way out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That would be what I would say. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's good advice.
It is, yeah. I think business owners tend to think they're alone on an island, right?
I just had the conversation. We're doing our yearly manager reviews, and I had the conversation with them. It's not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength. Yeah. You can ask for help and show humility. It's going to save you in the long run.
Yeah, and to your point, too, I think when you're asking for help, especially when it's going to have a negative or positive effect on a client if you're asking for help and you're doing it because you're really thinking about the client, right? Like, it's not a selfish act to ask for help. It's about the client, right? Like, you want to do great work. You want to do whatever it is that you're doing for them, but you can't do it on your own, or the situation's gotten out of hand or whatever it is. Like, ask for help for sure.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because there might be projects that get presented to you. You might have, whether it's a family member or a friend of a family member, they want to give you your first shot, but you have no clue on how to attack that project, how to cost it, how to do any of that. You could get crushed. Ask for help. There are people out there that you can team up with, and they can teach you along the way. So, there's been plenty of times. I think the best managers of any businesses are those ones that are willing to not only ask for help, but find people and surround them with people that are better at certain things than you are, right? So I have an office manager. She's talented in so many areas that I'm not good at. Just recognizing your weaknesses and plugging those holes with competent people that are good at that makes you stronger. So, I like to have as much autonomy. However, perception is that business owners are, I think we mentioned this earlier, but like controlling or control freaks, or it's all the adjectives you hear when it comes to owning your type A, whatever it is that you're, the moniker of a true business owner. That's not all bad. Somebody has to be in control of the ship. There's a captain usually. There's one person, and sometimes it's divided. Sometimes you have two. Sometimes you have multiple. But at any given time, somebody's in charge, and there has to be that. The other piece is take care of your employees, right? You're not alone. You didn't get there by yourself. And I think that if you take care of your employees along the way, and I think that if you give them the opportunity to grow, if possible within your own company, you're going to have a loyal, employee that will help you build something bigger for everybody, right? Yeah. So I think sometimes,
especially the unicorns.
The unicorns, yes,
legit.
Yeah, lock them up. That's what I say. Lock up the unicorns. Keep them for yourself, and don't let anybody have them. Yeah.
It's true.
It is true. We changed our whole hiring process over the last year to only hire unicorns. Legit.
Yeah.
And we did. We hired a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a great staff over there.
We're getting better every day, too. We just made a new hire this morning, actually. I'm super excited about her starting. She's going to be
nice,
amazing.
Good stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's what it's about. You do get stoked when you find that right person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's charging for sure, man. Like, I say to them, like, we're trying to we have all these great 10-year visions and, our 5 years and 3 years and all these goals and things we're trying to accomplish. And like, it's big for a small company. And so it's like, you got to have great people. And when you find them, you're like, yeah.
Yeah. And you look back on the startup, we all were there, right?
Yeah.
You look at, but the startup of something and you're just, wait, how did we get to where we are? Right. So sometimes and then you're to that point, all right, you are where you are, you're successful. How do we get to the next level, whatever that is? And it's different for each owner. I think, ultimately success is a lot of times measured in how much money or how many employees or, all that is a measure of some sort of success, but really it's, for me, it's stability, not losing, right? Like if I have a good employee, I'll do whatever I have to do on a personal level to make sure I can keep that employee, right? So if we have lean times, maybe I'm not making as much money personally in my pocket. Maybe I'm, sacrificing buying the next truck and saying, you know what, we'll hold off on that because the person's more important. I think taking care of and realizing that your employees are what make your business unique and strong. Yeah,
what's the leaders eat last, right? Like,
and that goes both ways. I think sometimes your employees might look at owners and not understand the sacrifices they may have made. So for new entrepreneurs, being mindful of that, where you can share as much as you want to share with your employees, but you don't need to bring them into all the negative stuff where maybe you were in debt up to your eyeballs before you got to the point where you could hire your first person. Whatever your backstory is, right? How you got to where you are, they don't need to know all of that, but what they do need to know is that you worked very hard to get to where you are today. You know, I didn't have, probably much like yourself, I didn't have like a family member leave me a pile of money to go start your business or give me a pile of money. Or,
sounds great.
Or loan it. Yeah, that would have been one way of doing it. And by the way, if somebody has that opportunity, God bless. I think it's
use it.
Use it and just be smart. You know, make really good sound moves. Think about it before you do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's something.
A lot of good advice. So, what's a typical day look like for you, Chris?
Geez, this time of year being the winter. So, without getting into too much, but BradManz just made another acquisition. We purchased a company called Unit Step Company. It's a manufacturer of prefabricated steps, among other concrete products. You know, ornate flower pots and bird baths and curb stops and all different things, concrete related items.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So every day I start out there meeting my guys, going over today's projects, which they seem to be limitless right now. We have a ton of things going on there. And then I come down to my office in Albany where we are today, and I meet with my office manager and go over whatever it is.
This building is huge.
Yeah.
City block.
Yeah.
Is it a whole city block?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like how many square feet is this thing?
It's 20, downstairs 24,000. So it's half acre more or less.
Holy moly.
Plus you got the lot out back too.
Yep.
When we pulled up, because Derek told me to park, hopefully I'm okay where I parked across the street, but I'm like, look, I'm like,
I don't know, the owner across the street might have you towed, but.
Sweet.
He's a real jerk.
That's fun.
He's such a douche.
I blame you. Yeah. But I'm just looking at this building. I'm like, holy shit, man, this thing is monstrously huge.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
So that's even a different story because this is a different business that I own with my partners. So that's another, the property business is I purchased this for Valley Green, who's a tenant here. Valley Green needed a space in this area, and I, from my previous sales jobs, I had met the owner and some of the people that work for that company, and over the years we got to know each other. I was selling them, we became friends, and I asked them at one point, I said, do you guys ever need a location in Albany? And they said, yeah. I said, well, do you buy or lease? They said, we lease. I said, if I were to find the right building for you, would you lease from me? And they said, yeah, absolutely. So long story short, that's what happened. That's awesome. So I found the building first. So as a result, I had found the building, and having BradManz operate out of here was never the envisioned. Yeah. It just happened to be, well, I have all this office space, and I have this place to park a few bins, and we need a place to put our trucks. So ultimately, that's how it started. We'll still operate out of here to some degree. My office manager will work out of here. I will have my office here, but we will also have our yard will be at the new location, which is in Duanesburg, up
nice.
Route 20. So, yeah, it's exciting. So day in the life of Chris is basically, I would say that I'm more of like to like a fireman, not to the dangerous part of being a fireman, but the being able to shift gears, going a different direction, at a given notice, right? So some days it's meeting with customers. Oftentimes I have a few things blocked out on my calendar. For example, maybe a podcast, in this case, but I have a couple meetings.
With the checks we're writing to you.
Yeah. I'm locked in. That one didn't clear yet, though. So we'll talk about that later offline. Yeah, so it's every day is different, which is what I love, right? Being a business owner I think it's there's always a point in the day where I'm meeting with my office manager. There's always a point in the day where I'm meeting my partner and my employees. That can change depending on the time of season too, right? Time of year, right? Because we're in the winter now, so every day my guys are at the same place, so that's easy. If I'm not able to go there in the morning because I have to be someplace else, I can meet them later in the afternoon. If I need to come down to the office to meet with my office manager or other vendors, I usually have a couple appointments set up, but with a lot of time in between, so that it allows me to move where I need to go. Oftentimes in any industry, I would imagine, Derek, you can speak to this too. I'm sure you can. It's reactionary where a customer wants something, and if you happen to respond to it quickly, and I don't mean meet with them right away, I mean just get back to them right away, set that appointment. It's a level, which is another good piece of advice for future entrepreneurs, that it's response time, getting back to customers and following through with what you say you're going to do. The quicker you get back to somebody, the better chance you have of securing that business. So response time is everything. So if somebody calls me and it happens to be something related to landscaping or unit step or whatever it is that we're looking to do, and I can give them a very reasonable time to see them, because in the construction industry, people are anxious. They want to do something. Yeah. They want a response quickly. So, the sooner you can get on that, the sooner you have a shot at least presenting yourself. If they like you, you're gonna move up to the yes, where they're gonna agree to work with you. If you wait a week or two to get back to somebody, they're gonna be like, I already found somebody. So that's why I have to be kind of have the ability
fluid,
to fluid.
Yeah.
And it works really well because my partner is in most cases on the job, performing the daily tasks of getting those jobs done, running the crews, getting the materials there, and I'm just organizing the next project. So I would be getting if we're in season, I might be calling for material pricing. I might be doing a quote for a customer, putting an estimate together, getting designs together, going over material with the customer, meeting the customer someplace to go over materials, and picking those out and then lining it up, that's the hardest thing in our business, specifically landscaping. For all landscapers, we all suffer through this. Weather dictates a lot of things. So if you have perfect weather every day and you can say, okay, this job I'm on now will take me a week, the next job's going to take me 2 weeks, and so on and so forth, you get to that week where you're like, okay, we have an opening here. You have 1 day of rain, it might delay you 2 days and push that other job 3 days, and it's a snowball effect. So a job that you have planned out 6 weeks from now, perfect conditions, and this is assuming weather, but also material, all those things happen at the same time and work in your favor. Let's assume everything is fine, you have that 1 day, the ripple can push out a job 2 more weeks. Which leads me to suggesting to entrepreneurs, communication with your customers is paramount. Yeah. If you know that you're going to be delayed, do not wait the day of or a day or two before. Give them the courtesy. You know well in advance. If you told them you're going to be there in 6 weeks, and in 3 weeks that I'm not getting there in 6 weeks, well then call them then. They might be frustrated, but I can guarantee they're going to be a lot less frustrated and probably not angry at you. Very rarely do I get anybody who's upset. Usually they're like, thank you so much for calling and letting us know. They just, because if they gave you good hard-earned money in a deposit, and you tell them you're going to be there in 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks come and you didn't call them, and they have to call you, worse yet, that's just a major, it's a yellow flag in football.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
So I can attest. Be proactive.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. So it's all proactive. Absolutely.
So I know we got to wrap it up. We're getting short on time here, but I always try to ask, if there's, I know you gave a lot of great advice and tidbits, we'll say, right, throughout the podcast. But if there was going to be one thing that you were going to tell a future blue collar business owner, one thing you're going to tell them to help be successful, what would it be?
Pay your bills.
Pay your bills.
Pay your bills. Pay your vendors. Pay your employees. Pay your bills.
Nice. Especially if that's one of my invoices, everybody. Please pay it. Yeah. We have so many freaking our accounts receivables out of control.
I'll expand on that just for a second.
Yeah, please.
You're whether it's the landscape industry, electrical, plumbing, whatever industry you're in the blue collar realm, these are your partners you're working with. If you don't pay that bill, you have now shut a door. Mm-hmm. So if you develop relationships with those vendors, one, they're going to help you out down the road. But also over time, you start to earn trust with them, and they like working with you because you pay your bills on time all the time. And now you have somebody who's going to help you out when you need help. Furthermore, some of these vendors are going to be like, hey, these guys are a great contractor. Here's their card. Call them. Mm-hmm. They're seeing potential customers all the time. So if you burn that bridge, one, you just lost a supplier. By the way, small industry, every industry around here. So if they hear about you not paying your bill, it's not going to be too long before somebody else finds out that they haven't paid that, and now they're going to cut you off. But also employees, right? You have paychecks. You have to make sure that the money is in the account. If you buy a truck, they're going to take that truck if you don't pay your bill. Mm-hmm. So you need to be mindful of your finances, and you need to be accountable to it, and you need to give up your own paycheck if need be, to pay those bills. Most successful contractors, business owners, have gone without paychecks before to pay their bills. It's not because they didn't have the money, it's because they had to pay their bills.
Yeah.
And slow and steady. Just don't try to blow up a business all at once. You're better off going small and being deliberate with everything you do, and seek advice. I gave too many things now.
I think it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know, what the hell, man. I tell you one thing.
Well, pay the bills. And go Bills, by the way.
And go Bills. Ooh.
Yeah. Big game this weekend.
Any predictions?
I don't like to predict. I will say this: they're playing at home. They're playing a team that they obviously have beat them in the past, and I think that they've gone 7 straight. They just need to play their game, and I think they're capable of beating any team out there. So it's as a fan, I never like to. I'm not the one they're gonna blow them out or any of that stuff, because it can go either way.
Okay. If they win, we're going to title the podcast "Go Bills."
I love it.
And then and pay your bills in parentheses.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Quotes.
If people want to learn more about BradManz, how do they find you guys?
We do have and Mike, as a marketing guy, I'm going to probably have a sidebar with you afterwards, because my website is awful.
Okay.
But you can find our information on BradManzLandscaping.com.
All right.
My number's out there, and if anybody wants to call and discuss landscaping projects, but please don't use my website as a landmark of our products, because that site hasn't been updated in a long time.
Well, we make great websites, so we can.
I might barter some of this 100,000
that I just for that rubber check I wrote you.
Yeah.
Any social media handles or anything like that, or just the website?
Same thing. BradManzLandscaping.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, not good at it.
That's all right.
This is a quid pro quo here. Mike's going to help me get that up and running so that we can do better things.
Sounds great to me. Thanks for coming on.
I very much appreciate joining you guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me on. We'll have you back again.
In this beautiful, what do we call this?
This is the COVID Clubhouse.
The COVID Clubhouse. All right. This place is amazing.
Yep.
I need one of these in my office.
We can build it for you.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Of course, I just want to take a brief time to give a shout out to MLB Construction. They recently wrote us a big check, which we were actually going to post on social media at some point here if I get my shit together. And but because of that money, we're going to be donating some money for tools and tuition and other stuff to HVCC and their construction program that is the Blue Collar College. And thanks also to Luke Michaels and Michaels Group for their for their sponsorship as well. They gave some money a while back, and because of that, we were able to donate to BOCES and donate to HVCC and help a few people with tuition and tools and all that fun stuff. So I just want to give them a little more attention and say thanks one more time. So check them out, and you'll hear from us next week. Thanks, everybody.